Welcome to the Gain Momentum podcast, focusing on timeless lessons from senior leaders in hospitality, food service, travel, and technology. I'm joined by the two co-founders of Trybe today, Steve Porter and Ricky Daniels. How are you both doing?
All good, thank you, Adam. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us this evening. Thank you.
Well, it's great to have both co-founders because we can really drive into the details of how you both came together and how you started your company. That'll be the second question. First question, give us the elevator pitch on what Trybe is so everyone knows.
Yeah, absolutely. So Trybe is a fully cloud native operational platform used by properties with complex operational spa and leisure. Complex in nature, quite often because they're associated with hotels. So that could be the property management system, such as Opera or Muse, or there's plenty of different PMSs out there. Or complex in nature because it could be just because of the range of offerings that they have. So that could be treatments, that could be fitness classes, that can be private barbecue fire pits, that could be packages where you're combining all those different items into one easy to use flow for the guest. And actually one of the fastest growing markets for us now is bathhouses that can actually be standalone and on the high street. But they have large wet facilities, access to thermals, and they have a quick turnaround time on high capacity. And there actually are some bathhouses that also sell treatments alongside access to wet facilities as well. So really, when you look at Trybe, you've got the ability to manage bookings, to sell those bookings online, to manage them within the calendar. You've also got full prepayments functionality, e-commerce and in person. You've got full vouchering functionality within our platform. You've got medical intake form management, inventory management, and the ability to sell retail, the ability to manage memberships, reporting, and more. I always like to say we are the property management system, but we're the property management system for your spa, leisure, and activities, and so much more. But Steve, tell me if I've missed anything.
That's pretty much it. It's the ultimate bookings and business management system for all of your ancillary spend. And we just augment that property management system for hotels, but because it's quite an advanced and flexible system, it can suit those high end luxury bathhouses and wellness facilities and resorts.
Yeah, and that's really a theme of hospitality now is the growth of total revenue, which is not just rooms, but ancillary products and how you sell those and merchandise those to maximize the guest utilization of a property. So this trend didn't come out of anywhere, didn't come out of nowhere, didn't come out of anywhere. Getting to my double negatives. But it came out from the inception of you both coming together and realizing that there was an opportunity here for helping guests and hotels to come together to enjoy the properties as best as they could. So describe to us the seed to scale of how you both came together and founded Trybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So really important to note that there is three of us. So you've got Will Taylor Jackson as well. So it's Will, Steve, and myself. And yeah, we've been in cloud-based software now for a fair while. If I want to say collective, well, it's Will being the longest serving, around 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been a fair while. So Will's definitely the old guard of the tribe. Pardon. But we prior to starting Trybe, we've always been in cloud-based software, cloud-native software. So we were at a company called Design My Night, based in the UK. There's lots of different facets to Design My Night. We were early stage employees, and but you had a consumer-facing discovery website called designmynight.com, which listed restaurants and bars and private hire spaces and pubs here in the UK across the sites. And I guess for the international viewers, really you might know OpenTable, for example. So very much a competitor of OpenTable, but on the UK scene. But behind the discovery website, we built cloud native software for the hospitality industry. So we built a restaurant, a casual dining and pub booking system called Collins, which is in over 8,000 venues now across the UK, predominantly UK and Australia, somewhat Europe. There was a ticketing software called Tonic to sell ticketed events, and a vouchering software called Soda to sell vouchers. So at that company, Will was a CTO. Steve was lead developer, and I managed one of the sales teams. And yeah, really, it was really successful. There was an acquisition, and that was acquired by a company called the Access Group in 2018, I want to say. And we were there as part of a managed buyout. And our dreams individually had always been to one day do our own things. We were good friends, and we just got chatting, and we thought, okay, well, this is something that our skill sets complement each other. We can really have a go here. And we thought, okay, well, what's an industry we love? We love health and wellbeing, all for different reasons, but we all love health and wellbeing. So we thought, okay, well, this is an industry we really want to come into. So in March of 2020, we made the move to leave Design My Night. And we just started by going out to the health and wellbeing industry and saying, look, this is what we've done in the past. We'd love to come into the industry and build something that could have an impact. And this coincided with that event that we all know. About a week later, we went into the first lockdown, which was obviously a terrible time for us all. Yep.
Hold on. So you're telling me that your decision to found Trybe occurred 1 week before the lockdowns and was made independently of the worldwide event that happened in March 2020.
Totally. I remember.
Wow.
I remember going from being on a salary to not. And I've got a very dear friend, Mr. George Penman, who, special shout out to George over in Colombia now he is. And he said, look, Ricky, you're going from a salary to nothing. Just come and move in with me. I've got my own place in London. Come and live rent free, just pay bills. So I remember getting in a rental van, a mover van, and driving through London and it being a ghost town, and just looking out the window because of the lockdown. And that was a week after we started. We decided to start Trybe completely, totally. Yeah. But actually, what we did find, Adam, was that people that were normally moving around at a million miles an hour, whether they were senior execs at big corporate firms or they were founders of great high street chains or whatever they may be, C-suite executives, they were at home and they didn't have as much to do as they usually did, and they were just up for having a chat. So for us, it meant that we could spend time speaking to these leaders within the industry and having great conversations. And we had some great conversations. We spoke to leaders of high street fitness studios and large gym chains, chiropractors, physiotherapists. We spoke to the public sector here in the UK, and then we started sitting down with what we would always term complex operational spa and leisure, where we kind of first started on the first question. And we sat down with a wonderful lady named Lena Lotto, who is, or virtually with Lena, who's the spa director of a beautiful estate in the New Forest here in the United Kingdom called Carey's Manor. And she said, look, guys, you've got to come and look at this side of the industry. There's a handful of software servicing it, and there are huge frustrations around them all. And they were all similar, those frustrations. They were outdated technology, whether it's on-premise or cloud-hosted, lack of an online bookings capability, lacking in memberships, and so forth. And we thought, okay, well, this is something we can really sink our teeth into and have an impact with. So we said, okay, well, we're going to build. Let's put our heads down. Let's build it. So Steve and Will started building, and I just started going out to the industry and speaking to whoever I could. And that went on for about a good 6 months, I want to say. And through that time, we met another wonderful lady named Claire Caddick, who was a consultant in the industry. And she ended up becoming a really good consultant alongside us and helping us shape what the product is. And at the exact same time, we met another fantastic consultant named Katie Plowman, who did the exact same. So it really was a case of thinking to ourselves, well, we've got a great team here. We've got a great friendship. We can really build something that can have an impact. We love an industry. Let's find where that opportunity is. And that's how Trybe came about.
I think COVID, it was probably the best time to start a business, right? Like hotels had to digitally transform. They had to implement contactless procedures. So we were able to really innovate, move quickly, and speak to people who were at home and dying for this solution, but just didn't have the time to think about it, implement it during while they're managing their day jobs. So yeah, like it was a really, really good opportunity for us.
And now the hard part of a startup is getting your first clients. Yeah, you've mentioned a lot of different industries that Trybe can work for. Talk about your first clients, how you got them, but also talk about your first hospitality clients as well.
Definitely. I'm going to say there's two very hard parts there. Getting those first clients and getting them paying, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I think for us it was get Trybe into an operations by any means possible. So we just said, take it. We want to hear from you. We want to learn from you. We want you to help shape the product. And actually, that one of those consultants who I mentioned a minute ago, Claire Caddick, it was working on a number of projects within the industry. And Claire introduced us to a group called Amaze Hotels, who have a number of properties in the group and quite a few spas within there. And they had two properties that were running smaller operations within the spa, a number of treatment rooms and a small wet facilities and a health club operation. And they weren't using a system. So they said, okay, well, let's give you a go. And we're incredibly grateful to Amaze Hotels. They put us into Riffin Castle in Wales and Chevin Country Park Hotel and Spa in Yorkshire, which is about 10 minutes down the road from where I grew up, which is incredibly funny. What are the chances of that? But that's where it started. So we had these two properties using the system for free, just take it, and we nurtured this relationship. And whilst that, and also when you look at it's crazy to look at where the product was when it went into the hands of Riffin Castle and Chevin Country Park to where it is now. It was a basic calendar. It was the ability to sell a treatment and an access to wet facility, and a very basic bookings page. And the property couldn't even access the settings, really. For most changes to the system, they had to get in touch with us. We would make that change for them. And from there, like Steve mentioned, we just kept building and building, innovating. And all the property had to do was refresh their browser and they were on the latest version of our system. So there was no downtime. It was rapid innovation for sure. All the while, we were reaching out to more properties and then getting them signed up and eventually getting them all paying as well.
Right. You have to have that initial user base, and then the cash flow is the whole other issue on the back end there.
Those early adopters, they were very invaluable. They were happy to put up with a calendar where you can't drag and drop, and just their feedback to help us push forward with the functionality that was actually going to make a difference to the operation was amazing.
And it's worth saying as well, with Amaze Hotels, the largest hotel spa they have is called Shrigley Hall. Quite a few treatment rooms, a really big operation, and large wet facilities. And the idea was let's see how Trybe does in the smaller operations. And I think it was within 3 months of them being live on Trybe and seeing the power of the automation of online bookings, just dropping straight into the calendar, the time savings that came with that for their central reservations team. We were already talking about their flagship hotel spa, which was a large property. So it's incredibly invigorating to see that feedback so soon after going live in our first two properties.
I think you've also got to remember, like when the industry was opening back up, we had this huge staff shortage. So there was nobody there to answer the phones. There was nobody there to check inboxes. So again, I think we were just really, really well timed. When we went into Shrigley Hall, 70% of their bookings were coming online. And, like if they didn't have an online booking system, they would have really, really, well, they would have struggled a lot more to recover from the pandemic. So yeah, I think it was a well-timed opportunity that we just capitalized on.
To further that, I think property number 7 in Wales as well, Lanley Hall Hotel and Spa, they blew up on social media, and their online bookings just went crazy, and they did not have an online booking engine to match that demand. And again, that's how the conversation opened up. So yeah, absolutely.
And all of these initial properties we're talking about, they are in England, close to home.
Correct.
Right. So therein, we should give some context to English hospitality and what distinguishes some of those hotels, as well as talking about boots on the ground. This whole idea that, yeah, we're developing cloud-based software, so technically it can work anywhere around the world, but still a lot of technology in hospitality is sold locally in a lot of ways. Do you have any comments on what distinguishes English hospitality to start off there?
Yeah, I would have to say that it really revolves around the experience in British hospitality. It's something that we saw very early on, and I think we've identified for sure that we we as a nation are at the forefront of this. We're brilliant at selling a package, an experience that combines multiple aspects of a property's ancillary services. It could be as simple as just a spa day where you're selling a treatment. You get access to wet facilities, and then you get some food and beverage whilst you're there, your lunch or an afternoon tea. But that is very much a standard here in the UK, and you can package that up with an accommodation and overnight break as well. But it's such a powerful driver of customers to the property and revenue, and I really believe we truly lead the way, and that's what shaped Trybe from the ground up. So what you find in Trybe is, again, to mention what I said earlier, a property management system for all those for your ancillary services, but something that on top of that can wrap those offerings up into a package, and sell every aspect of that package online, in person, over the phone, pulling from each component in that package is live availability for sure. But we do hospitality incredibly well here in Britain, something to be very proud of for sure.
The second part of that is the whole idea of selling locally. Um, did you find that was critical to your success getting started, where you were talking with people and you really could develop that connection, whether it was virtually and then eventually you probably were doing site visits out to these places as the world or as the UK opened back up? Did you find that was helpful?
Do you know, it's funny. So again, I'll come back to our previous experience. So at Design My Night, I was on the road every day. I would be in Liverpool one day, I would then be in Brighton the next, and then over in Wales the next day, and it was all on site meetings, and then COVID came about, and it really felt like senior leadership, decision makers, senior influencers were embraced this online communication where we're speaking today, and it's still carrying through today. I look at the proportion of demos and meetings we're having, and yeah, I want to say we are 99% online, and that's driven by the person we're speaking to. They just want to meet online. They want to be able to put their laptop down, get back into their day, and not have to travel or whatever it may be. Same on our side for sure. But even when we were selling in the early years to begin with to the UK market, it was very much virtual. Probably driven by the fact that we were in and out of lockdowns. I think it was 3 times in the early days. But even as we embraced normality, and that's still true today. And I think that's really helped us massively in this last 2.5 years as we've moved outside of the UK and into Europe and across North America. The fact that these individuals, these customers, are very embracing of online communication such as this.
I think, like, to expand on that as well, I think that's what's made these in-person networking events even more special and more purposeful. People who are taking time away to go to these, they're networking more, they're sharing experiences more at these events. So these Spa Association events that we're going to, like the UK Spa Association and Spa Life, like everybody there is learning and sharing off each other because when we started, they were just doing screen time.
Yeah, it's amazing how the world has, it moved from you'd have to go to present something in person, and then we went to a more efficient model of having everything virtually, and now we found this hybrid, and it's just been growth throughout. And dare I say it, but now people are working harder than ever, because the expectation now is that you're able to fit in 5 meetings a day instead of two.
Totally. Totally. But I think from our side, we try and embrace a cohesive working environment where we can. In the office, we're based over in Bloomsbury Way in London, just by Holborn, and we practice hybrid working. So we're in the office Monday to Wednesday. We think it's incredibly important that the team have that face-to-face interaction with each other. They can bounce off each other in an office environment, and then Thursday, Friday is work from home. And we think that's a really nice way to do it. It allows them to kind of enter the week on a much calmer foot for sure.
Yeah, I think that is the way going forward. Um, Next question here. You mentioned starting in the UK, now throughout Europe, and now into North America. Where is Trybe now in terms of clients, territories, etc.?
Absolutely. So we're now in 280 properties. We are in 27 different countries, and growing. We have a number of properties that are about to sign up in several other countries as well. Um, Really range across the board. It could be individually owned businesses, standalone properties on the high street, or hotel hotels as well. All the way up to large corporate chains. We have IHG properties. We're the chosen provider there for the UK managed estate. To the Dorchester collection, sorry, is 10 global properties. Are Tribes in each of those properties. So it really ranges, and I think that's the beauty of Trybe. It's a very flexible solution. It can service that individual property all the way up into a large chain, and that could be a property that has a number of treatment rooms and sells just treatments, to properties that have treatments and access to wet facilities and sell many packages, to properties that like Bluestone in Wales, who are a huge operation that have not only spa and leisure, but loads of activities, whether it's cocktail masterclasses, sourdough bread making, kids activities, bowling, the list goes on. And again, they're all managed through Trybe. Health club operations that are managing their memberships through our system, their membership charges and whatnot. And so it's a real range of properties for sure, including multi-property as well. And we don't lock ourselves to one segment. It's not like we define ourselves as suitable just for luxury. It's completely across the board. It's luxury, it's mid-market, it's the complete range, and that really does help us in terms of opening up a global market. And in terms of where our predominant focus lies, it's across Europe and across North America.
I guess like in terms of numbers as well, like we're now processing about 60 million. What's that in dollars? About $80 million of bookings a month now. About 250,000 guests a month go through the platform. So it's quite a crazy number now.
And then I guess another question about the whole founding of a company is the funding of it. Starting bootstrapping during COVID, and then all the way now. And now you look at a territory expansion in North America. That is not a cheap venture, because you have to put a lot of time towards sales and marketing, and then vetting the product with specific features. Talk to us about how you found funding and what you're able to disclose for right now.
Yeah, of course. I think we probably ripped up the tech fundraising playbook, so we haven't raised the Series A yet. And I think Will, Ricky, and I, when we originally set out to build a business, the one thing that we wanted to do was build a sustainable business. We didn't want to be one of those tech companies that raised millions of pounds, didn't know what to do with it, and disappeared like a couple of years later. So we are very much shoestring budget. We funded the business originally from share options that we received from Design by Night, some savings of our own. We didn't take a salary for the first 18 months together, so it was tough. But from Ricky, like going out and reaching to people and showing people Trybe, we built up a relationship with somebody inside the industry who was just really interested in what we were doing, completely understood the problem with legacy unintegratable systems that were managing spa and wellness operations, and was just like, I want to integrate with you, but also how can I help? How can I get you everywhere? And that's where we got our first investor from a UK company called UK company CEO called Jason Goldberg of Spa Seekers. And that gave us an amount of money for us to get our first couple of hires. And we hired two people that we'd worked with from Design, another person on the engineering team, Dan Johnson, and a head of customer experience, Jess. And we had some runway for a good 12 plus months. And then, as with any business, you want to scale. So through our existing network of angel investors from Design by Night, relationships that we already had, we just approached them and said, look, we're starting this new thing. Are you interested? And yeah, we raised another 2 rounds with them and friends and family. And that's all we've raised so far. But I suppose like in terms of like advice for people who are wanting to fundraise, in the tech scene and for hotel tech, I think as long as you're building something that people want and there's a demand, I think you just grow. Like people will constantly be knocking on your door trying to potentially give you money. Like just be a lean startup, MVP, get feedback, iterate, learn, repeat, and that's our ethos here at Trybe.
I will add one more as well, which is I don't know how I would do this or be here without Steve and Will. So, we formed a great team with skill sets that complements each other. And we had we built a strong relationship together before we started the business. So it really was that founding team that set us up, a strong foundation from which we could build from, and to have had hired Dan and Jess as our next two, who again we'd worked really closely with for many years, and again we're privileged enough to call good friends. It just felt right. The foundation was so strong from which we could build, and from there we could really just go for it, give it our everything. And at the end of the day, as long as we knew we'd given it our everything, what will be will be.
You guys make it sound so simple, but developing an MVP, then iterating and iterating, that's thousands, tens of thousands of hours of work to do that.
I remember the first like 3 to 6 months of just trying to get in Chevin and Riffin. It was me and Will, lots and lots and lots of long hours, but we loved it. Like when you're starting a company, there is nothing more exciting than and me and Will, we're technology enthusiasts. Like no technology education, no university degree. We just love problem solving with technology. So the first 3 to 6 months were awesome. Like nobody was doing anything outside, and we could just code. We could just solve problems. And Dan is exactly the same. Like our next engineering hire was exactly the same. So we were almost like the Social Network, the film, the Jesse Eisenberg film. It was like that. It was like we were plugged in. The rooms weren't dark, but we were just building. We were solving real problems.
I think the biggest learning was my background's always been sales. So life in sales is this. It's just up and down. It's up and down. It's up and down. What I came to learn was, whilst sales might be this, starting a business is this. And
True.
when you're in sales and you've had a low day, you don't know what's around the corner, because you don't know what cold emails getting responded to. You don't know what inbound's being passed your way. What I found when you're down there after some, you thought you're a week away from getting a new property who was property number 3 or 4 or 5. We built a feature that we thought was, the customer was going to love, and the reception wasn't that great, or that it needed to be built even further. The lows were so low, and the only way to get back out of that low and back up to a high was yourself. It's the only way. You could wake up the next morning and you had to get yourself out of that low. And then the highs were the best things in the world, celebrating like crazy at the top. And I think a big learning over that first 6 months was trying to level out those highs and lows so that you didn't become just completely exhausted. And that was a huge learning for sure.
Yeah. I've never been in that situation, but it's unenviable but exciting. As you said, Steve, like you're able to just plug yourself in and just, you get into that deep state of flow where it's like 4 hours pass and a whole day passes and you're just like, whoa, what happened? And then it's like, wow, I actually got a lot done. And yeah,
it's productive dopamine. It's not doom scroll dopamine. And yeah, it's that buzz.
Yeah, well, I guess to shift gears about dopamine, dopamine is reward, and we're giving the guests the reward of being able to book great experiences. And you talked about legacy systems, and you mentioned a specific feature, the drag and drop into an availability calendar for treatments. So I'm wondering if you could discuss some of the features on Trybe that help to solve the pain points that spas and other ancillary businesses have traditionally had in selling their services, selling their spaces, and really creating experiences for their guests and their customers.
Absolutely. And I would probably break this down into two sides. So you've got the technical side and you've got the practical side. So if we were to start with the technical side, and we've touched on it quite a few times now during the conversation, Trybe is fully cloud native. When you compare that to the expectation of the market, when you look at our competitors, they are all either on-premise, so downloaded to that server in the hotel, or cloud hosted, so on a server in a data center somewhere. And there's a huge range of competitive advantages that come with Trybe being cloud native. So firstly, you can access Trybe from anywhere in the world with varying levels of role-based permissions. So those with complete admin rights can see everything, whereas those that just manage bookings can see the booking, to just accounts teams that can see finance reports, for example. We also support single sign-on to help further that data security aspect. There's also the point that it's rapid innovation. We've spoken again that, but that ability for Steve and Will and as the development team grew to just continue to build and test and release and repeat, and all the operator or end user had to do was refresh their browser, led to a system that just got better and better and better week on week. New features every week, excitement building around what was going to be that next feature coming from us. Compared to cloud-hosted solutions or on-premise solutions where you have to wait 6 months for a new update to come out, the server has to go offline for a couple of hours. That might need to be done in the evening where people need to come in and keep an eye on that. Comparing that, there's quite a big difference there for sure. Speed of use, Trybe is insanely quick. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. Our capacity is essentially infinite being cloud native. It doesn't matter how much data you put on our system, we're never going to slow down. We've migrated so many properties away from systems where I've watched them. Well, I mean, it's crazy to say. We've had properties tell us we've stopped taking bookings over the phone and entering it into the system whilst we're taking the booking because we timed it and it took us 20 minutes. So we just write it down on a piece of paper. And then after the booking, we add it. Well, that sounds incredibly unsecure from a data perspective, but that's where properties were left with cloud hosted or cloud or on-premise, solutions. There is the security aspect around cloud native solutions as well. It is and can be incredibly secure. Data is encrypted at rest and in transit with Trybe. And our commitment to our customers on how seriously we take handling their data security lies in our ISO 27001 2022 certification, which essentially just means we're audited rigorously yearly on our own internal data security processes. So that's our commitment to our customers. Due to the nature of our technology, Trybe has been built from the ground up as an incredibly open platform. We have open APIs. We've got many data endpoints. And on top of that, we have webhooks as well, which properties can work from as well. It's been awesome to see how properties have embraced that and custom developed Trybe into more individual requirements within a property, whether that's bespoke customer bookings journeys that they've built on top of Trybe and whatever else it might be, a property management system, whether that's integrating Trybe into more powerful reporting solutions such as Power BI. There's been some great use cases. Steve, I don't know if you want to get on the open API side, so
Yeah.
yours.
It's one of our biggest differentiators, right? Like 99.999% of the API endpoints we have are public. So you could go and build the Trybe application yourself from the APIs. And we've seen people do some pretty crazy things with that. But we have one client, a bathhouse in New York, bathhouse Flatiron and Williamsburg. Like they're accepting Bitcoin as a method of payment, like Bitcoin to book spa days and treatments at their bathhouse. And cool story there. Their pool is actually heated by a Bitcoin mining farm. Like it's quite cool. You should go and check that out. And we have somebody working on an integration with our platform to take bookings over the phone. And with the rise of these AI tools that are just opening up coding to the masses, we've got people asking us questions about webhooks and how they can use tools like Zapier to absorb our information and put those into like agentic AI flows. So I suppose like that's one of our biggest competitive advantages, and it's how we started Trybe, like being open.
So yeah, big shout out to Jason and Maya over at Bathhouse.
Yeah, I know about Bathos and powered by the Bitcoin mining. So to pick out some technical details, because this is really, I find fascinating, and I bet a lot of other people do. You mentioned, of course, within cloud native, there's data in transit and data at rest, and you're encrypting on both ends. Can you first describe what the difference is there, and then also talk about where you are storing your data? You're in 27 different countries. Where you store your data is important in order to be compliant. Talk to us about that situation.
Yeah, of course. So like encrypted in transit just essentially means that a secure line of communication is opened up between us and a user or a booker of the platform. So like how previously you'd open up your browser, Internet Explorer, and the bar would be green and there'd be a padlock. That's essentially encryption in transit. And encryption at rest is when we take the data that is stored for the platform, and it's not we don't just store the raw data, it's encrypted before it is stored. And when we retrieve that data, we have to unencrypt it to process it. So security is really important for a cloud native multi-tenanted platform, because if we get a data breach, fundamentally, like we don't have a business anymore. Like if people can't trust us to store their data, that's it. Trybe is no longer a thing, which is why we take security so seriously. Like security it's part of that development flow.
Do you want to talk about where you store the data? Because different countries have different compliance rules.
Of course, like, all of our data is stored in EUS1 Ireland. The platform is stored on Amazon Web Services, and that's where the data is today. So important for GDPR compliance. Yeah, and that's the home of Trybe.
Yeah. Now, to pick out another part of what you said, Ricky, talking about how a lot of these places were taking information over the phone, and it was 20 minutes per call. So you're making it a lot more efficient, but part of the whole reason why that call was 20 minutes was because the person wanted to do something very complex in terms of arranging different treatments in a certain order. And now with a very flexible platform, you can do dynamic packaging to bring these all together and essentially replicate that phone call, but in a booking engine environment. Can either you talk about that specific feature and what you've done to bring those individual treatments or services together into something that's not only more value to the business, but also more value to the guest or customer?
So I think ultimately guests want choice and flexibility. That was the one thing that we noticed from the very beginning, and that was lacking in all of the possible booking experiences. And if you take a look at how hoteliers are marketing their stays at the moment, they're marketing experiences, they're marketing spa breaks, afternoon tea spa days, where you get a choice of treatment. It's no longer you get a 60-minute back massage. It's, do you want a 60-minute back massage? Do you want a facial? Do you want to pay an extra $50 for the 90-minute massage? So what we built are these dynamic packages where the hoteliers can bundle up all of their different ancillary services into some choices. And choice one will be like, what treatment would you like? And you have the range of treatments that are included in the package, as well as any upsell options. And the second choice is, when do you want to have access to the wet facilities? If it's a half day spa treatment, then the treatment has to be in the morning, and the access to the wet facilities has to be in the morning. And then the third slot is, well, at what time would you like your afternoon tea reservation? And we integrate with a number of restaurant systems where we can pull live availability out of that and even include that as part of that booking experience. So that's what we mean by dynamic packages. It's that single marketed experience at these places, with giving the guest the power to configure that itinerary and give that guest the flexibility to book exactly what it is they want.
And it's also
Wow.
just nice to say is like how we continue to push that as far as that boundary can take us. The next level for us is and going live as we speak is including accommodation into those package bookings. So we are releasing as we speak an inclusive spa breaks booking engine where one component of that package is accommodation. So we're not slowing down on the dynamic packages front. We're only speeding up for sure. But just to add, I think another real benefit alongside the dynamic packages is that that all-in-one shop in Trybe, that ability to have on the one booking engine um, packages for spa, individual treatments, fitness classes, activities such as tennis, squash, and the list goes on. But that's also a huge, strong element of Trybe is that all-in-one solution for sure.
And to touch on what Ricky says there, like all of those experiences that he's just described, they're all different booking experiences. You may remember like some hotels like 5-10 years ago, they might have had like a basic website and very much a shopping cart where you can add a treatment, not select the time or add something else. And that's not personal. It's not how people want to book. So we've got different booking experiences depending on what is being booked. And that's one of the big powerful things behind Trybe.
Yeah, I mean the term I see to describe this movement that you're on the forefront of is conversational commerce, because you had the phone call which was 20 minutes long, and the reason why it was 20 minutes long was people wanted to ask questions, they wanted to book at specific times, they wanted to rearrange things on the fly, and they would have a conversation with someone on the team, whether that's a spa receptionist, a concierge, etc., to have that really meet their individual needs. And now you're essentially, we've gone full circle with trying to automate it, and we had this cart-based model, and now we're going all the way back to what essentially is a true conversation that is just has a lot of object architecture under the hood to enable that. Yeah. And therein, another part of enabling that, you mentioned restaurants within there and pulling over availability. Talked about APIs and mentioning things like web service calls and webhooks and different types of APIs. That still requires a lot of work to integrate various systems, and work is time and money. So, how do you strategically decide where to devote resources to develop your integration partners?
That's a really, really good question. I suppose when you're an open platform and you want to integrate with everyone, that's hard. But I think obviously, like we're very demand driven. So when people are approaching us and saying like we really want this integration, we think it's going to be valuable. Like we listen to our clients. So and as we move to this world where we're moving away from these all in ones, which was which I think personally is a good thing. Like we're seeing a rise of best in breed softwares. I think we're having to make sure that together, like we're not silo systems, but we integrate well enough to be that new all-in-one system with best in breed systems managing the different parts of the operation. So I think we're just always looking for partners to fill those gaps. And we integrate with Muse, which are a huge partner of ours, Opera and Guestline as well. And yeah, like I think that's Trybe, I suppose. Like integrations is really important. We're always continuing to develop new ones all the time.
We want to stay specialists in what we do and do it as well as we can, and work really closely with other specialists to do what they do best. And that's how we believe we've got a much stronger ecosystem for the industry as compared to an all-in-one that's doing everything to a very average level and dropping balls in the process for sure. It can be very challenging for sure when there are so many great partners, potential partners in the industry, and we have limited resource whilst we're focusing on building functionality within our own platform and looking to build integrations to others and assist those partners as they're building integrations from us. It's a challenging one, but it's one we embrace. We love. It's great to see the end results because of that.
And I suppose, like speaking from our experience, like when we were very early on, like getting integrations with the big boys was really, really hard. Like because they don't have capacity for Trybe with free clients in the north of England. So that was, I think, probably one of the driving decisions around being open, so that if people wanted to integrate with us, they could do the work. We would have the documentation, and like in the tech scene, Stripe are probably one of the best tech platforms on the market. Their documentation is beautiful. Like you can go from zero to taking a payment in about like half an hour. And we wanted to be that, but in this wellness booking space, this ancillary spend and bookings management space.
Yeah. It's a very interesting world with hospitality technology, the number of players and just having to integrate them and then getting your foot in the door where the bigger players actually give you the time of day to notice you. But you mentioned something very important, which is making their jobs easier. You have all the documentation of the SDKs, software development kits ready for them so they can put you into their development pipeline. So
Exactly that.
yeah.
There's a huge amount of sales involved as well. Like you can look at it like sales. We were, even in the early days, we would treat a potential integration partner like we would securing a new property, trying to get noticed, reaching out to whoever we could that we thought would be a senior influencer or a decision maker on that side. So it's amazing to see some of the larger integration partners we have now who we dreamed about integrating with in the early days. But again, it was the thousand no's finding the final yes to get that partnership.
It's really interesting that it's fascinating that you mentioned that as sales, because traditionally we always thought about sales as new client acquisition, which in our case would be getting the hotels, getting the spas, getting the bathhouses. And then of course there's the internal sales or customer success, as Mark Benioff coined it, which is getting them to use more of your product, right? To get more throughput and sell them on additional modules. And now you're saying that there's a third element of sales, which is selling to other companies to develop your ecosystem around your product.
I would go as far to say that's not we're not the only industry to have that challenge. Let's call it. When again coming back to the point we discussed a second ago, we are now in this world where thankfully you have best in breeds that are specialists in what they do and stay in their lane and look to build really strong integrations with other specialists with the aim of building a much stronger ecosystem and that's cross industry for sure.
Yeah. So one best of breed area that a lot of software companies have not really focused on is the actual payment rails, where they want to focus on their product and then they integrate this to some sort of processing entity. And you have Trybe Pay, which is one of your part of your software suite. Talk to us about not only what the product is, but how you decided to go that route of developing your own embedded payment rails.
Yeah, sure. So I suppose Trybe Pay it's an omni-channel embedded and integrated payment solution directly in Trybe. So that means that you can take payments via e-commerce, online, and in person, pay by link, all of those different mediums like integrated in the system. And why that's powerful is we've chosen to do it like this because we didn't want to have to integrate with all of the various different payment gateways, payment processing services, because they don't all have the same functionality. They're not all easy to integrate with. And it would just be a nightmare to maintain all of the different features that you can or can't do with all of the features that we have within Trybe. So that's why we have Trybe Pay, where we can manage everything. We don't have those complexities, and ultimately we can innovate faster. We can use the tools that are enabled to us to do some really cool things like wearable payments, for example. Like we're working on something which is super exciting, where we're able to tokenize the payments, any of our interaction points, and essentially link those payment tokens to wristbands. So if you imagine that guest experience at these really high-end bathhouses or hotels, you check in, you pick up your wristband for your access control and access to your lockers. That's now your method of payment for you to use at any point of sale across the property, which is really exciting. And I suppose like how it's working under the hood really is that there's a payment is being captured by our platform, not through us. It goes to our payment provider. It gets tokenized. So all we're storing is a token of that payment. Think of it as like a fingerprint, so that we can remain PCI compliant. We don't have to touch any of those particular card details. And then using that token, we can just charge it.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to describe it. I mean, tokens a little bit different than encryption. I'm not sure we need to go heavy into that that nuance there, but that's really cool. And so you mentioned wearable payments, and my first hunch was to basically say that the cruise industry has been doing this for a long time with a lot of their medallion wristbands as well. Where did that idea come from, and are there any clients that are using this that you're piloting?
Great question. So where did the idea come from? I think we quite often get our heads together in the tech team and try to think of something that's cool. And I remember, I think it was Dan and I, a good couple of years ago, we were looking at I think it was for Bristol and Thames Lido. It's a Lido outside, British summer. You sit around the pool, lovely restaurant on the side. And they were after this solution where they didn't want people to tap their tap their phones or anything because there's a swimming pool involved, and they wanted this contactless payment solution, but they didn't want to add another system into their tech stack that wouldn't talk to anything else. And I just think that got us thinking. It's like, how could we solve that particular problem with our payment solution and our tech? And fast forward a couple of years, we started speaking to Bathhouse in New York about the possibility because they were interested in exactly the same thing, and we were like, right, let's build it. Like Bathhouse are a forward-thinking company. They want to work with forward-thinking companies like us. Let's together build this solution, and we're actually going live with Bathhouse with these check-in kiosks and this wearable payment solution. Hopefully next month. Like we're doing some on-site testing early September with hopefully a launch shortly after.
And one other aspect of wearables or any sort of payment digitally in this manner is the upside of increased revenue, where the thesis on it psychologically is the more you remove a person from the physical pain of paying, moving from coins to notes to credit cards, plastic to mobile credit cards, and now to wearables, the theory is that you increase total dollar per customer. Have you noticed that at all? Are you seeing that? What can you say to that trend?
I think I think it's not a trend that we're noticing at the moment because we don't have this live yet, but it is so true, right? Like, if you remove all of these barriers, if you make it easier, if you go from having to insert your card to chip and pin to being contactless, people will spend more money. And I think let's jump on a call in 6 months' time, and like we'll have a load of data that we can share with you, with how much additional revenue these wearable bracelets will bring in for our customers.
It's slightly related, but and this carries true to our private previous lives at Design My Night and still today with Tribe. But on our booking engine, we have some great upselling and cross selling tools, and we have a large number of properties. And it sounds so simple, but let's say a package includes a glass of prosecco, but as a final step, why not upgrade to a bottle of prosecco for an additional £20, $30, whatever it might be, and the revenue pickup that we see off the back of that is ginormous. And what more, we see customers who have paid for that bottle of prosecco coming on site and forgetting that they spent that, and moving on and spending more and buying another bottle. And so the carry on effect from that is absolutely huge.
Yeah, and all told together, we're not talking about selling an additional 1,000 rooms. It's always the string of quick wins and building incremental revenue that is really going to take a property from a ancillary contribution of, let's say, 20% of GRR, gross rooms revenue, up to 50 or even 60% for some places to really drive that ROI from a total revenue perspective. It's a series of quick wins built into the platform and enabling these upselling opportunities at every step of the guest journey.
It's exactly that, and it's just making sure that the systems are integrated and cohesive enough to deliver that objective.
Yeah, and without any service faults, which is the other side as well. There's the revenue on the books, and then there's the execution upon that, which is the whole other side. So integrating to ops platforms, very important. Or I guess what are they calling them now? Service optimizations systems, sauces. I think that's the going name. Again, yet another industry acronym, right? There wasn't enough before.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so we'd be remiss to not talk about with a technology company, machine learning. It's very real. What is Tribe doing in this capacity?
So with machine learning, like what we're toying with and doing small hack days on is using machine learning to help us like with revenue management, helping our customers put together some pricing strategies for what it is that they're what they're selling, those experiences. So, if your occupancy is low on a lower than usual on a Tuesday, coming up with ways that we can, try and capture that additional revenue to get you to where you need to be. So, like we're looking at advanced yield management, so machine learning to help our users make more informed decisions. And I suppose, like off the back of the machine learning conversation, you've also got AI. Like AI is obviously hot topic at the moment. Everyone's talking about AI, and it's kind of lost its meaning. And I suppose, like from our point of view, like we're exploring ways to incorporate AI into our platform, but in a purposeful and meaningful way, not just slapping AI on a landing page to try and tell everybody that we're doing cool things, but seeing if we can explore ways that we can extract data in a conversational manner, as opposed to just pulling reports and things like that.
That's very interesting. That's a great use case. But yes, AI is overused now, but it's still there's a ton of potential. Just taking the data you have and then optimizing in various ways and offering suggestions to do this sorts of yield management. Um, Are you doing anything with respect to within that yield management to dynamic pricing and dynamic availability within your platforms?
So not currently, but that's the vision, right? Like the vision is to continue to iterate and use these technologies to enhance the platform.
Awesome. So what does the future look like for Trybe?
So I guess we want to own the ancillary spend. Hotel rooms they're a big part of the lifetime value of customers, but we want to be the platform that helps drive the other parts and continue from an operator's perspective to feel like they're using that all-in-one software, not feel like they're jumping from all the different systems. Like the operator has got a cohesive experience, and ultimately the guest has got a cohesive experience. So Ricky mentioned this earlier, like overnight booking experiences that's being released very, very soon. So the ability to be able to book a spa break. And we mentioned the contactless payments and the kiosks. That's just around the corner, and quite a lot of our customers, the high-end places here in the UK, have golf courses, and all of them are like, "You're doing really well with a spa. We're really struggling to find a golf system."
Yeah.
And Ricky, Will, and I are always like, "Well, what can we build next? What can we build next?" And there's so many things that we could do. But it's just making sure ultimately that we don't become another one of those incumbent all-in-ones. Like, not staying in our lane, but making sure that if we veer off course a little bit, that it's purposeful, it's intentional, and we do that well.
One thing we value very close to our hearts as a three is our relationships with our customers. We want to hear from our customers what it is we should be building next, and that's how we believe we truly build the strongest product on the market. We'll always be open and honest with our customers. There's certain things that we won't do, and there's things that really interest us. And Steve touched on the wearable payment tech, and how when Bathhouse mentioned that to us, our eyes lit up in excitement because it sounded just like such cool tech to bring into Trybe. So we will always be driven somewhat by our customers and where the industry is looking at what's cool and exciting next. There's also that piece around advanced yield management. We're going to be looking at that very closely early next year, and looking at ways that we can drive demand, pricing based on demand. Sorry, I should say, for sure.
We really, well, from the beginning, we were built for the industry, by the industry, right? We were advised by people in the industry, and that's worked really well for us. So it's important that we stay true to that.
Awesome. And to close out, is there anything else that you guys want to mention?
I guess some really exciting news is watch this space. Like we've got some exciting things around the corner. North America's a huge focus for us. So yeah, like stay tuned. There'll be some big announcements on that front soon.
Awesome. Well, Ricky, Steve, thank you so much for coming on the show. Truly fantastic hour-long conversation, and just a goldmine of information for anyone who is really interested in owning the ancillary spend. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, Adam.
Thanks for listening to the Gain Momentum podcast. To stay up to date, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Gain Advisors, head to gainadvisors.com.